Welcome to Midlife Mix.
Am I your first Canadian podcast?
Oh my God. And they say you always remember your first.
Both things can be true.
He's cheating on you. He's busting up your barbershop.
Hi, this is Rachel from Midlife Mix. Today we have Jennifer Commins on the show. She is the CEO and founder of Pluck Teas, and she spilled the tea on being a woman entrepreneur, the difference between men and women CEOs, how she does the work-life balance. Is it a myth? Is it real? And why she does scary things, why it's important, and why you should too. Welcome, Jennifer Commins, to Midlife Mix.
Thanks for having me, Rachel. So excited.
I'm excited to have you here. CEO, founder, entrepreneur, Pluck Tea.
Yes, that's me.
Tell me how you started this company with $5K in your pocket.
Well, it's a story and a half, let me tell you. So I used to sell office furniture, obviously a very straight line from office furniture sales to tea sommelier and creator of a brand. I joke, but actually part of my job was taking people out to dinner. So we were working on some pretty beautiful projects in Toronto, working with great architects who loved amazing food. And I would be taking them out, and as a tea drinker, coming from a British family, tea was really important, and tea was really bad in Toronto restaurants back in 2012. So I thought to myself, someone's got to fix this. And I spoke to some other tea drinkers who kind of felt the same way. At the same time, I was learning how to cook at George Brown. And George Brown College was a place I'd spend time in the weekends and evenings learning how to cook. One day I got an email saying, new course available, tea sommelier. And I thought, okay, well, is it destiny? I don't know, but I'm totally signing up for this. And I loved it. I became really annoying at dinner parties for a while. Talking about all the varieties of tea. Oh, and did you know the green tea and black tea come from the same plant? And, I was just really into it and kind of loved it. At the same time, my job was I was in it for 17 years, and I kind of felt like it was time to do something else. And I was working for a person who wasn't my favorite. He was a bit of a bull in a china store of a man. And I just decided one day, you know what? I'm going to stop this madness and start my own brand and start my own company. And I was really fascinated and into the whole local food movement. I used to, and I still do, shop at farmers markets every weekend. So I connected with a lot of farmers who were able to provide me with ingredients for teas that were grown just outside Toronto, places like Niagara, Prince Edward County. And so introducing those ingredients and sort of a uniquely Canadian kind of vibe and content into tea was something that I had a lot of fun playing around with. And it caught the attention of some great chefs. So really, yeah, it was $5,000 in a credit card in 2012 with 3 kids and a mortgage and my mom's hand-me-down hatchback. Say that 3 times fast.
So I want to talk about not only, obviously you're a CEO, but you're a woman CEO, so it's a bit of a different experience, I would think, than being a man CEO. It's just, we're different human beings. How has your leadership as a woman CEO, how has the style of it evolved, do you think, since founding Pluck?
Well, when I founded it, I was a one-woman show, so I would never have called myself a CEO. And it was very much almost a handmade product, sort of made personally by me, delivered by me. And I would sort of shake the trees to find other orders coming out of them from other restaurants in the afternoons and get those orders, make the tea delivered in the morning. So I didn't really feel like a CEO until I took someone else's money. So in 2014, 2 years in, when someone put faith and trust in me and said, okay, I'm going to invest in you because I believe in what you're doing, but we're also going to work together on bringing you up to speed as a CEO because you're going to need to kind of figure that out. I mean, I was a business manager. I was a glorified sales rep before I did this. So I had the marketing side, but in terms of the diligence and the thoughtfulness around things like the P&L and our balance sheet and income statements and cash projections, this is all new to me. And so I had to learn piece by piece. Today, I'm very, I would say, comfortable. I'll never say confident because, as I mentioned, the company is growing really quickly and the challenges are coming fast and furious and always changing. And so I think I'm constantly growing. But I don't profess to think I have it all figured out just yet.
But you have a bigger staff now.
I do, 14. So I think delegation is key. And I have a phenomenal president who handles the operations side of the business. And I'm really in charge of the growth and the sales and the marketing side. So we've kind of divided up the universe in a way that keeps me sane.
So you started this company in 2012.
Yes.
And I'm not going to do the math because words girl. But
13 years. 13. Lucky 13.
So you started in your 30s.
Yes.
So now that you have sort of reached midlife, have you noticed your confidence shift as a woman in business midlife?
Sometimes for the good and sometimes for the less good. I would say that when I started the company, it was never expected that not only would I be running a company, doing all the things, making all the decisions, growing the brand, but I'd also have to film myself doing it. And now there's this expectation in the world, and I think in founder circles, that, we have to be on LinkedIn. We have to be doing video of the good, the bad, the ugly. There's some phenomenal brands out there, like Midday Squares, for example, who have filmed almost documentary style their growth and their success, and taking on the big brands of chocolate. And I applaud them. I don't know that I have it in me to be quite that confident about real-time decision making. So I feel that side of things is a huge amount of pressure to sort of look good doing it, if that makes sense. I mean, there's a lot of young entrepreneurs doing great things who, are more comfortable in front of camera and doing social media and having grown up with that world. So I think as I get older, I bring a different set of skills to the table, and probably a bit more quietness and sort of stillness. And maybe there's a place for that too.
Mm-hmm. But you have been in front of the camera. You're doing great videos. I've seen them.
Thank you. I have to really gear myself up for them. And I find that I need a day off if it's a big one. These ones are easy, but yeah, I mean, I think it does take a lot out of me. I would say that through the journey of this, I've discovered that I'm more of an introvert than I thought I was. Being in sales, you always think you're an extrovert, and I was very confident always in presenting, talking to people and presenting ideas. But I do find when I put myself out there now, as I get older, I need a little bit more recovery time to, just to recharge.
You've been very upfront and vocal about talking about self-limiting beliefs. And you've done personal work to sort of work on, your own self-limiting beliefs. So can you tell me a little bit about, retreats you've done and lessons that you've learned, and how does one go about fixing that?
Well, I think you got to put yourself in the right room with the right people. So one of the things that was transformational for me, and I think also the business, was getting in contact completely accidentally with a group that was just starting out in Toronto called the Founders Club. And the Founders Club were a bunch of people doing some really interesting things that were feeling kind of lonely, because when you're a founder, it's hard for other people to relate to what your day looks like. It's hard for people to understand some of the pressure and just how you operate in the world. Sometimes it can be really isolating and kind of scary sometimes when things aren't going great. You don't want to let your family know that, a big deal fell through or a machine went down that you need or something. So finding a group of like-minded individuals who are also working on their personal growth in such an intense way was really cool. And some of the things we've done, I mean, I went to Muskoka for 4 days up at one of the members' cottages, and we cold plunged in the lake. I mean, the ice had just left. The ice had left, and this is early cold plunging. I'm going back 2 years. I mean, everyone's cold plunging now, but back in the day, we felt like pioneers. So jumping in the lake, getting into a sauna, doing breath work, talking about our childhoods, trying to repair our inner child relationships. I mean, we go deep really quickly in this group, and there's a lot of trust in the room, and I found it just really an incredible source of energy and support. And I have this network of people I can reach out to at any time, which has been incredibly helpful. And so I think that's a big part of my life right now, is that constant challenge. I tried 75 hard in January. I made it 39 days, which I was very proud of. Thank you. And then a circumstance outside my control, which no one would ever agree with who's completed 75 hard. So don't hate on me, 75 hard people. No, but like food poisoning was it just not something that was in my control. So yeah. I did, fall off at 39. And I think also choosing January in Toronto was a bold choice, -25, right? High wind chill factor. But that's the kind of stuff that makes you grow as a person. It was a great challenge. Now, where are we at? Almost July 1st, right?
Yeah.
Canada Day is next week. So I have another half a year to complete the 75 hard, because my commitment to myself that I made in front of all of these people in the Founders Club was I am going to complete this by the end of this year. So there, I'm putting it out into the universe now. It has to happen.
When you go on the retreats where you're meeting sort of like-minded people, are you surprised when you meet certain individuals and think, oh my gosh, this person looks like they have it all put together, and they're thinking probably the same thing we're all thinking?
Yeah, absolutely. It's not an ego fest, that's for sure. In fact, quite the opposite. People go deep quickly because they understand that people in the room understand. And there's tremendous vulnerability when you're around this sort of group of people. I would say that there's definitely confidence with people in certain just things they've mastered, right? And I think the vibe is really about supportiveness and helping and problem solving. And when we get together, and we get together fairly often in our groups, now it's grown quite a bit. I think we have 400 members I shouldn't say they have 400 members in the group in cities around the world, actually, which is really cool to think about. We go deep really quickly. So if you were, and you are, a founder of your own entity, it would be, so what's your biggest business problem that you're struggling with today? I mean, those are the kinds of first opening sentences we hear in these conversations. And it's just, it just takes out all the noise, you know? So it's just really people being vulnerable and kind of naked, you know, about what they're good with and what they're really struggling with, and just trying to help each other in the process.
Is it like a lot of imposter syndrome? Like, do we all have that? I feel like I have that.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I played tea company for a while. You know, it's like the Barbie days, you know, with my little tea company factory and my little tea company, you know, stuff and my tasting sets. Yeah, I mean, you kind of have to fake it till you make it. It's such an overused saying, but I think if you will it to be, it will be so. I mean, it will happen. And actually, and I'm going way back. Do you remember there was a film called The Secret? Did you ever watch The Secret?
Yes. Graham loves The Secret.
Graham loves The Secret?
Graham loves it.
I bet he's all about The Secret.
Yeah.
Okay, so at the core of that, I think, is really the idea of manifestation, and that what we focus on grows. And okay, they took it a little far in that film, I will say. However, I do find that it tends to happen. I mean, if you do set a goal, I mean, even something as boring as budgeting, every CEO, every company has to work with a budget, and we have to guess in this crystal ball every year. Okay, how much tea are we going to sell in this next 12 months or 3 months or whatever the period is, and what's our profit margin going to be, and you know, any sort of geopolitical forces at play that I should be thinking about. All of this magic, right? But over the past 5 years, my team has delivered on the budget within 3 or 4%, usually to the better, every single year. And why is that? It's because we set that intention. When we put the number on the page, we gear the life that we're living to what that truth will be. And it's incredible that we will take actions in small and big ways to make that number happen. So really, we should always be leveling up on what that number really looks like. And anytime I've done it and I've felt a little bit like, I don't know, this is a big number, it's always happened.
We had Kathleen Cameron on this show. She is manifestation coach. So I love manifestation. We talked all about it. And she started her business like 2020, I think, and it's worth like $40 million now.
Wow.
So
that's so inspiring.
Yeah. So I love the fact that you're talking about manifestation. And maybe that's one of the biggest, or a big takeaway that you sort of received from those retreats, is to see it. And
yes, I would say committing is hard, right? On many levels in life, but committing to goals that you have that you think are a priority in your life, it's transformational. And you live your life as if you've already sort of accomplished it, and it'll happen.
Do you think our self-limiting beliefs ever go away, or do we just push them down?
I think we get new ones.
We just get new ones?
I get new ones. I get new ones every week. Are you telling me?
New insecurities every day?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, look, I think we get better at dealing with them, but I mean, I find myself in a situation right now where, you know, not to share too much inside information on the company, but we have a potential of working with a strategic partner who's expressed interest in investment, and it's the self-limiting belief rears its head where I think, am I asking the right questions to make sure this is the right partner? Am I thinking through this contract in a way that I should be? Do I have the right tools in my toolkit to negotiate this in the best possible scenario for the shareholders? I mean, it's just, I think anytime you're confronted with something new and something serious, that imposter syndrome can creep in a little bit. The way I'm responding to it is I'm calling in all my favors and all my experts, and I'm asking for help. I think that's such an important thing too, that, you can ask for help. If you have imposter syndrome around, I don't know, presenting in front of a group, you probably know 5 or 6 people who do it all the time who'll help you, but people love to help. So as a CEO as well, I tend to be that girl that asks for help and gives it too.
Yeah, I think that's great. Because I think as women too, I think sometimes a lot of times we don't want to ask for help.
Sure.
I could do it. That's who I am. I'll do it myself.
Right.
But
right. I mean, there's a fine line between that and mansplaining, right? But no, like lots of great men out there, not to be negative on that. But I think it is, I mean, sometimes it feels weak to ask for help, especially with something you feel like you should know. But I think it's also kind of cool to be like, I have no idea what this means. Can someone help me? I've never had someone laugh. Could happen in the future. We'll see.
So you're probably in lots of boardrooms and meetings and are surrounded by men, entrepreneurs.
I spend a lot of time in kitchens.
Okay.
That's a different kind of boardroom.
I just mean that you probably are in communities where you're meeting with lots of different entrepreneurs.
Yes.
A lot of them are probably men. So I'm wondering if you've noticed a difference on how men run companies versus women.
Ooh, this is dangerous territory, Rachel. You're getting right in here. It's hard to generalize. I mean, there's such a broad spectrum of people, both male, female, and otherwise, who are involved in the community. I think that I've been very impressed by the thinking through of systems that men are able to implement. And this is a very general statement.
Yes.
But I've noticed that when we talk about business problems together, someone may come up with, oh, this is exactly the system that I use, and here's the checklist, and it's highly logical. And it's actually very relaxing to think about. And sometimes, tricky, but especially if you're dealing with HR questions and things of that nature, I tend to get emotional. I love my people, and we have a phenomenal team, but, I don't know a company that doesn't deal with the occasional flare-up of something going on. And I just think that, the idea of systems seems to come up a lot. And, I hate to talk about AI so early in this conversation, but ChatGPT is really, really powerful, and there's no ego in, or there's no problem in asking it for help, and I think that I'm seeing that a lot too. I also see men being incredibly supportive and outwardly friendly and engaging with female entrepreneurs, and I appreciate that. I think that's wonderful.
You mentioned sometimes you get emotional because you care, but do you think that is almost to your benefit as a woman entrepreneur? Like, I think, is that the special sauce to being like a woman CEO, that, maybe we are a bit more emotional. We tend to care more, but I don't necessarily think that's a bad thing.
I agree with you. I'm building an ethical company and a sustainable one. And so I think a lot about the impact of what we do, whether it's a micro impact of a conversation with an employee at work and how that might affect him or her, or it's our commitment to the environment or to the environmental group that we're working with, and making sure that we test and make sure that they're the right, alliance for us. In the world, in the way that we present the products as well, being emotional and connected to the farmers. The people who are growing these products are incredibly impressive people, and I think that we tend to have such a disconnect and an emotional disconnect between our food sources and our consumption of it. And so I hope to sort of be a bridge, and I do think it is a benefit to allow emotion to creep in. I think you make better decisions, and that gut, that's emotional too, right? That gut feeling when you just know it's not the right decision, that comes down, I think, to emotion.
So speaking about, emotions, has your success impacted other facets of your personal life, whether it's relationships, friendships, family?
I will say that people like to interview me at parties all the time.
Is that your party trick?
No, it's not. Please stop. No, I mean, it's flattering, but often people don't know what to say or what I want to talk about. I try to take the lead in a conversation and ask people about what they do and, what's their favorite thing to do in life. I try to get on ahead of it. But naturally in any conversation comes back to, and what do you do? And I've got it down to like 2 sentences now. It's, I'm in the beverage industry and I'm a tea buyer. It depends on who I'm talking to. If somebody's super engaged and interested, I'll go there. But it takes a lot of energy to tell the story. And I never want to do the brand a disservice. So sometimes I'm just not in the mood. And I do find that people can get a little, I guess, irritated that I don't want to stand there and do a full-on pitch at a dinner party every time. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I find that there's a bit of disconnection, I think, between people who are working for others and people who work for themselves. There's always a kinship, I find, very quickly with people who are kind of running their own show.
Do you feel that some people might be intimidated? And they know, this is Jennifer Commins. She's the CEO of Pluck
I hope
Tea.
not. I mean, I'm a tea sommelier that makes tea. I mean,
Come on. You are not. You're not just that. Let's go.
I never want anyone to feel intimidated. And I can't imagine. Impressed is great. Intimidated, I don't know. I try to, diffuse that really quickly. And try to be immediately helpful and interested in what they're doing. I can't get my head around that, really. There's no intimidation factor. The tea sommelier.
You are married.
I am.
And I love the fact, I've only met your husband a few times, but I stalk you on Instagram all the time. So you always seem to have a ton of fun together, and he seems to be very supportive, at least from what I see anyway.
He's amazing. Yes. No.
What would you tell
women who are, leaders in business, how to navigate relationships and that, how do we tell our partners what we need so they can support us, even though obviously you're a very strong, independent woman who can do it all?
I think that the most practical advice I could give is sometimes when we're venting about whatever's going on in our companies, we need to be clear with them about whether we want them to give us advice and feedback or whether they need to just be listening. And that's saved me a lot of stress and my husband as well, I think, because there are times when I just need to vent. There's just too much in my head and I just need to, and I'll actually, now I will say, is it okay if I vent? And he'll be like, let me grab a coffee. He also drinks tea, but he's more of a coffee guy, actually. I know tea and coffee are married. Can you believe it? But no, he'll let me grab a coffee. And then, we have sort of a safe space where I can, I've set the stage to have a conversation that he may be completely ill-equipped to give me advice on anyway, but at least he can listen. And that's been really helpful. I think just having that understanding of when I need help problem solving versus just venting. I think also just giving time and space to switch off, finding whatever that thing is that you can do, whether it's exercise, going for a walk or doing a mindfulness meditation or something that gives you that separation between work life and family life. It's sometimes really hard to turn off, especially in the early stages of building a company where you're just completely obsessed and in love with this idea. But your kids need you and your husband needs you. And, there's lots of other things that are happening in life, your family and friends. So I think I didn't do the best job in the very beginning switching off. And I had a bunch of people who were cheerleaders at home who didn't mind. But I don't know that's true of every family. And I think having that time to just be a family is really important.
So how did you learn to switch it off?
Well, burnout was a factor. You can't run 24/7 on an idea and feel healthy. I definitely had a moment, I'd say maybe 3 years in, where I was just freaked out. I mean, it was growing too quickly. I had 3 staff at that point. Everything was coming at me all the time. And I took a break. I actually stepped away for, I think it was 3 or 4 weeks. It was a huge amount of time, but for me, it seemed massive. And I journaled, and I did some work on, what was feeding me. Like, I was feeding the company, but what was feeding me? And I think making some simple lifestyle decisions, different choices, was important. Prioritizing sleep, funnily enough, very important. Little things like turning off my phone, an hour and a half before bedtime, and just really thinking about what I wanted the vision for my life to be over the next 5 years, next 10 years, and for the family as well, because how I was running things was just not sustainable. And unfortunately, it's when a lot of founders give up. Right? There are times when it's like, they call it the trough of sorrow. You have these like super high highs. Like, I just got a huge account. I just got this chef ordered my tea. This amazing restaurant's working with me. I'm so excited. And then, but what's the next thing? So learning how to reward smaller wins, and some of those are really big wins actually, but stopping and acknowledging, okay, I climbed this mountain and I was successful. And kind of trying to integrate that into daily life was kind of what kept me going. And as soon as I had kind of had that figured out and I was sleeping well again, the company started to take off. So I think investing in yourself is always going to be a good thing for the company.
Do you hold time for yourself sacred now that I'm guessing you're busier than ever? So how do you do that? And what do you do?
Well, I go to the gym every other day. I do a HIIT workout. I won't name the gym because I have a way of cycling through gyms. And this may not age well. But I'm regularly a gym member somewhere. I just tend to get bored of like certain methodologies around it, so I move around. But anyway, so I hold space myself every morning at 6:45. I'm there. It's an hour workout. I actually invested recently in a sauna and a cold plunge in the backyard.
You have a cold plunge in your yard now?
I do. Come over anytime. It's amazing. The sauna right now, it's like 40 degrees in Toronto at the moment, so that's not happening so much. It's sort of a natural sauna, just walking outside. But the cold plunge is incredible. I mean, it's like that feeling of jumping into a cold lake the beginning of the year. It's just amazing. So that's been great. So my wellness routine in the mornings, every second day, is about 2 hours long. And when I'm in the sauna, I'm doing breathwork exercises. There's an amazing app called Open, which I really enjoy, and they're constantly uploading, breathwork exercises and meditations. And I just find it's an amazing way to set yourself up for success. The other thing I do is at around 6 o'clock, I say around because I'm still not so great at this rule. I do turn the ringer off on my phone. I kind of put it away, and I focus on making a great meal for the family, and try to do that at least 3 times a week. So that's important. And I think seeing friends, trying new weird things also. The other day, I went indoor skydiving.
I saw that.
Why not, right? So yeah, trying new crazy things and, enjoying the place you live. My goodness, being a tourist in our own city can be an amazing amount of fun. I think we should go axe throwing sometimes.
You want to go axe throwing?
I do.
Okay.
Let's do it.
Okay. I mean, we did go to that place where we did the cold plunge.
We did. And what were your thoughts? Now I'm interviewing you.
Yeah.
See what I did there?
I did. I saw. Good job. I liked it. I was kind of scared because somebody, I don't want to say the name, but like, they were like, where are you going? And then like, I heard people like, are screaming and stuff in there, but it was very relaxing what we did. And I lasted 2 minutes in the cold plunge. So I feel like
your first time,
I was like an achiever.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Let's see if you can go 3 next time.
Oh, maybe.
No, 2 is very good. It's amazing. It's actually very impressive for a first time. Absolutely. And they do have screaming there, but not on that day. It's a different class. And it's kind of fun.
Have you done it?
Screaming
one?
I did the screaming one.
Oh my God. Okay. So walk me through that. And what is it like? And okay. Yeah, go.
It's a guided meditation
with
an expert. This one was a firefighter. These things to scream about, I don't know. And it was a guided meditation with music, and it's calm, and then you're kind of going deep, and you're thinking about, in this situation, I think it was inner child related stuff, which brings up a lot of emotional stuff, and it comes bubbling to the surface, and then you let go by screaming. So people are vocalizing Some people get so emotionally, involved that they actually cry. It can be an incredible release, especially if you're working on something currently that's really tricky. So it's just good to have that outlet. Isn't there a thing where guys go into the woods with drums and yell? I think that's the thing too. So
I don't know.
Yelling, I guess, is a good release. For me, I'm really into karaoke, so I like to protect the voice. So one of my outlets that is an unexpected one is I'm very enthusiastically a karaoke lover. In fact, when I go to Japan to buy matcha, it's one of my favorite parts of the trip because all of the farmers that I work with also love to sing karaoke. And for some reason, they love Carly Simon and any Carpenter songs are very, very big in Japan right now. So I've learned them all, and that's what gets me the good stuff.
What's your go-to karaoke song?
Me and Bobby McGee.
That's a good one.
Janis Joplin. Yep.
Wow.
Yeah, that's my
mess
go-to.
around.
Nope. Pink Pony Club is number 2 at the moment in rotation, but we need to retire that one soon because
that song I can't.
No,
it just annoys me.
Really?
Yeah.
Anything?
I think I've heard it too much.
That's fair. It's on all the time everywhere.
So when you made me do the cold plunge, and you kept saying to me, Rachel, we can do hard things. I was like, but why? What do you learn from doing hard things? Because you mentioned 75 hard, which when you first started doing that, Jennifer, this sounds awful. But you stuck with it for a good 40 days, you said. So
39.
Well, whatever. You're like over halfway. It's more than I would ever do. So what is doing hard things like 75 hard or the cold plunges or like the indoor skydiving, what did they teach you about yourself?
I mean, I just think it moves the ball forward. I mean, we talked about numbers and expectations and manifesting. Well, what I manifested yesterday before I indoor skydove, today, it might look very different because, well, if I can do that, maybe I can jump out of a plane. But if I can do that, maybe I can get over my bungee jumping fear. And that brings confidence and brings this incredible sense of ownership of yourself too. And also knowing where your limits are. I mean, there are things in this world that, it's just not going to happen. I can't think of one right now. But yeah, probably the bungee jumping thing. That just seems dumb. So there's certain things I just can't see doing. But if it's within my area of interest and it's just outside my comfort zone, I'm into it. I actually think I do my best work when I'm just outside my comfort zone. And it also brings incredible focus. Look, I can't think about anything else when I'm in a tube of air trying to float evenly. I mean, there's really nothing. I'm not thinking about my profit and loss statement at that point.
Yeah.
Or the customer that, complained about something. It's just full immersive commitment to the task at hand. And I think it ties into that flow state. That flow state idea is talked about a lot, where people who are happiest in life tend to spend the most time of their day, as much as possible, in that flow state, where everything else disappears and you're in the task, you're in the work, and the work is you. And there's no noise from the outside, and you can just be incredibly productive. I love those days. I live for those days.
Do you have something in mind for your next milestone to get you out of your comfort zone?
Well, 75 hard's got to happen this year, Rachel, for sure.
Do you think you're happier now in this phase of life?
Yeah, I think I'm a lot calmer. I'm a lot more confident. I have this sense of everything's going to be okay. And I think it comes from having gone through so many mini crises over a lifetime so far. I just turned 50. I said it. And that's a good thing because the alternative is not good, right?
That's right.
I think all of these achievements and coming through difficult times has built in me this sense that it's going to be okay. And my grandmother had this saying, and it is, you'll get over it and live for years. So if I came to her with some sort of minor problem, you'll get over it and live for years. And when something happens in my life today, I still think you'll get over it and live for years. It's true. Like, you can be in the middle of something really difficult, and you can project yourself out 2 years and go, where do I think I'm going to be in 2 years or 12 years or whatever? And inevitably, I'll come up with some image that doesn't look terrible. I may not know what it is, but I do have this sense that, look, I've seen worse. I've been through worse, and I got this.
And is that sort of a philosophy that you try to use when parenting?
Yes, absolutely. It's something I say more than Alex probably wants to hear it. He's the last one at home. The other two have flown and, live in other places now. But it is something that I think it's important. And the other thing I say is it's all about the bounce. So the further the fall, the greater the opportunity for you to rise. And it's hard to hear stuff like that when you're a teenager and nothing makes sense and everything's weird and, your friends are weird and your body is weird and relationships are weird and mom's so, weird. But hopefully some of it sticks, because I think these simple sound bites can actually build into something, pretty big as you grow older.
And what do you teach him about failing?
Depends on, I suppose, why it happens. So if it's something, I have another soundbite. Fail to plan to fail, right? So if it's something that he could have prevented, with kindness, kind of explore that. Is there something that could have been done to mitigate this situation? And generally he knows and will come up with it, and then we talk about it. It's done. If it's something outside of one's control, like so much of the world is today, I think it's just about being a good listener and kind and open and being open to hearing about how your child is processing these kinds of things that are outside of their control, because they also have to understand there's stuff outside of our control too, right? As adults, we don't own the universe. As much as I sometimes think kids, and you're an expert in this field, I think kids look to us as though we have all the answers. And I think it's scary when they realize that we don't, right? And that we are also human. But I think it's okay to also let them know that, hey, I'm scared too. There's some strange stuff happening in the world right now, and we're not, in a position to really fix it. So how are we going to operate our lives so that we focus on things that are positive and take our attention off of some of those things that we just can't control?
What have some of your failures taught you about yourself?
Well, so I skipped right over this part, but prior to my last job selling office furniture, I had a designer dog bed company.
Stop
I
it.
did. It was called For the Dogs. True story. And we were really successful. We made dog beds. Actually, the Roots production facility was still in Toronto at that time. So we worked with some of their team in the off hours or weekends or whatever, because they had all the equipment. And we made these beautiful dog beds and sold them into places like Barney's in New York and these dog boutiques that were opening up in LA and New York. And it was very exciting. It was very fun. However, dollar exchange rates became really important to know about around this time, because when I started, you could multiply my US checks by 1.4 to get the Canadian conversion. And when I sold the company at a loss, it was a 1-to-1. So we lost 40% of our margin essentially through just exchange rate fluctuations. Now, one would say, oh, well, the reason, the way you fix that is you produce overseas. Go to China. But I didn't want to do it. My vision for the company was as a Canadian brand making Canadian products by Canadians. And so I ended up selling it to somebody who actually did take it offshore and ran it for several successful years before ultimately, I guess, I don't think it's around anymore, sadly.
Aww.
Yeah, but, it had a good run. So that was hard. And I think that was something, what was the lesson there? The lesson there was, well, one, there are forces outside your control, but as a business owner, you got to be on top of it, and you got to maybe increase your prices and maybe be a bit more thoughtful about your sort of overall goals. Now, I was in my early 20s at this time, so I'll give myself grace for not being so incredibly organized on those things.
Looking ahead with Pluck Tea, what are some of the biggest challenges that you see moving forward in maybe the next 5 years?
Next 5 years, okay. Look, the company from a sales perspective, we're growing well, we're growing profitably. I think the bigger challenges are the more universal challenges to the industry. That being that the tea industry is in a very interesting spot right now. We've got climate change going on, right? So we have a lot of damage to some tea plants that are happening in various parts of the world simply because the heat is so extreme. We have the human factors that are connected to that. So tea pluckers in places like India, Sri Lanka, various parts of China, hand plucking is a very labor intensive, very demanding, and honestly underappreciated role, and probably the most critical in the entire supply chain. These people are underpaid. They are working outside, you know. We're talking about like some days in parts of India are hitting 50 degrees. Like that's just not sustainable. On top of that, we have a younger generation of people that are growing up in tea cultivating areas who are not interested in taking on the tea farms that their parents or grandparents or, you know, family members may have worked in or owned. They're much more interested in going to the cities, you know, and one of the factors around that, cheap cell phones. Who knew that cheap cell phones that connected to the internet in these, you know, rural locations all around the world were going to entice young people to get out of Dodge and go to the cities. And maybe they're learning English on their phones. Maybe they're connecting with people around the world on their phones. There's lots of wonderful things that can happen on these phones. One of the negative things that can happen for the tea industry is that, you know, younger people are not as interested as they maybe would have been if they didn't have access. So that's an existential crisis for the tea industry. And I don't know quite how that gets solved. The average age of a tea farmer in Japan right now is about 70 years old.
Wow. And
900 tea farmers retired last year. So imagine this matcha mania happening, and you have all these tea farmers that are retiring at the very same time that this incredible interest on Japanese tea is happening. So I think supply is going to be a problem. I think that's a big challenge. It's not one I'm really in an optimal position to fix. However, by paying a fair wage, by direct trading with amazing farms around the world that are doing great work, paying an inflated price per kilo for tea so that people have a higher quality of life, that's something we can do, right? And so I'm proud to be part of that. I think also in Canada, we have a stable population right now, right? We're sort of not declining. I think we're holding. But where's the growth going to come from, right? So when we think about the tea market, right now 65% of the tea sold in Canada is what we call orange pekoe, which is that black tea that everyone has in their cupboard. It's what I grew up with. And moving people over into the more adventurous teas, the blends and that sort of thing are... You know, I think that's critical to getting more interest in the tea market. You know, we think about tea as being this incredibly expanding market, and it is, but coffee is still 10 times the size. So we've got a bit of work to do.
what about biggest opportunities in 5 years?
Biggest opportunities in 5 years. Oh, wow. I have a lot in my head that I can't. There's like specific customer opportunities that I'm working on right now, which I'm really excited about. One is a national account. It would give us the opportunity to improve a part of their menu that is desperately in need of help, while also putting a give back program in place for every drink sold. I'm really hoping that happens. So that might be this fall. And in terms of growth, I'm growing this kind company one brick at a time, growing sustainably, growing profitably, and growing with kindness is kind of what gets me up in the morning. But in terms of a North Star, let's say like a number or a particular customer or, main aisle at Loblaws or something like that, that stuff will come when it's supposed to.
And looking back, what would you tell yourself, 2012 Jennifer with $5K in her pocket, about what's to come?
I would say don't give up too soon and calm down a little bit. I would say, sometimes not making a decision is a decision in and of itself. And you don't need to push things forward so quickly. It's okay to have a more paced look at growth and view on what's reasonably achievable. From my sales training, had always been, it was drilled into me, like shoot for the moon and you'll land in the stars or whatever that saying is. And that's sort of how it started. But I think that put a lot of strain on a lot of people. and ultimately, it turned out fine. But that would be my counsel, to just like take a breath, make sure you invest in yourself, take some time off, make sure that you're looking after, family and friends and all these other things. It's hard. The balance is hard. But ultimately that pays off.
Good. Well, thank you so much, Jennifer, for coming on Midlife Mix and spilling the tea.
Oh, thank you so much for having me, Rachel. This was fun.
It was fun. Thank you.
Let's go in cold plunge soon.
All right. Oh, fine.